All right. Well, so yeah, thank you for being so flexible and getting together and moving this to Tuesdays. If this works out for everybody, I'm fine with us changing this to Tuesdays as opposed to Sunday nights. I know we originally kind of made that change earlier in the year just because of my work schedule, but things have changed and things worked out. So, yeah, we can certainly make it the whatever, what is this, the second Tuesday of the month, third Tuesday, whatever, or something, and just kind of go ahead and take it from there. So yeah, cool. Well, if everybody's here and we can just kind of go ahead and get started. First item on the agenda is the review of the July minutes. I attached that to the most recent invite as well as a couple of others. Anybody have any chance to look at that? Have any questions, changes, ideas, motion?
Move to approve minutes.
Sounds good. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. And all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sounds good. All right, we will go ahead and do those June minutes. Okay, next item on the agenda is just my update. Let me get that pulled up. So, just to kind of give you a recap of the past month for me, I've worked 17.75 hours. As far as on the media outreach side of things, I created a Threads account for the 10 minutes that was the thing. So whatever X or Twitter, we now have a Threads account. We just need to start populating it with stuff. But that's been created. I'll start to use that a little bit more. The problem is the current posting system that we have does not currently have Threads because it's so brand new. So I just need to kind of make the mental effort to make sure that I'm adding that, but there's not even a desktop app, so I have to remember to do it on my phone. I'll get there. I just need to get in the swing of things on that, but that does exist. Also on the outreach side of things, we discussed the transit kind of maps idea during the last meeting that we had, kind of just to summarize all of the things that are going on around the state as far as transit's concerned. So put that together, got that up as far as another project that we have going on. On the fundraising side of things, I've started, and I'm probably going to be submitting this week, a couple of grants for the Sorensen Legacy Foundation, both for general funding and for the CAT and Transit Imagine programs. So I'm putting those together. Chris, what are you holding up? Oh, look at that, $47. Is that from Smith's? Yeah, there you go. So that continued to work. We should probably make another push on that one. I haven't pushed that one for a little while, so I'll put another push out for that one. But Sorensen Legacy Grant Foundation, like I said, we've got a couple grants that I'm going to be finishing up, get those off. Also, I've gotten letterhead and envelopes for fundraising letters, so I'm going to be printing those up, dropping those in the mail over the course of the next week or so. Just I need to get postage and start licking and sticking as far as everything is concerned on that. But we should get those in the mail probably by the end of this week, early next week. I've added like URLs and a QR code. I want to make it as easy as possible for people to be able to give us money. So we'll see. We estimate, with these sorts of things, you generally get at best 3% return rate. But with these being relatively high dollar donors, I'm going to be making asks of anywhere between $250 and $1,000, depending on the donor. We could probably see at least a fair amount of money come in through that front. It should pay for itself. Obviously, I hope that's the case, but I think we'll actually get a little bit more out of that as well, and then learn from there. On the networking side of things, I had two what's the word I'm looking for? Two conferences reach out to me, actually. The Teen Author Boot Camp and the Life, the Universe, and Everything. These two conventions wanted to reach out to me to see if I would be a speaker at these events. The Teen Author Boot Camp is in November, and it's talking to teens about writing fiction, but also how they've asked me to talk about how transit works in the real world and how they could possibly incorporate that into their fiction. I'm going to also add in the plug of like, hey, if you want to be more involved, blah, 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 blah. Life, the Universe, and Everything is one I'm still trying to figure out if it'll be worth our time. But they're asking to be a panelist to talk about transit issues and how it affects people on the local, regional, and national levels. So I'm pretty sure I can evolve the CAT program and all of that sort of stuff into kind of something presentable and discussionable at those events, and see if anything happens of that. As far as upcoming activities, the only thing I really got is that Sorensen grant I'm still working on, and I'll be moving on to some other grants further on down the road. A while back, I think it was, God, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Devin, I can't recall. But anyway, sent me just this laundry list of who funded the bike collective. And so I've just kind of been working through that list, submitting grants. I don't know who's next on that, but that's kind of continuing to be my push and my goal is that fundraising side of things. I've gotten back into my groove. I know I was moving the last couple of times, but I feel I found my groove again and should be able to start really diving into that stuff some more. Finally, by the numbers, just to let you know, 12 new Twitter followers. I'm still going to call them Twitter for as long as Twitter still exists. No new TikTok, no new YouTubes, one new member, and then let's see, no new dues paying members at this point. So that is my update. Questions, comments, ideas, anything on that?
What was the second conference? There was Life, the Universe, and everything. What was the other conference?
So it was the Teen Authors Boot Camp is what it's called. They're doing it up in Ogden in November. And yeah, it's basically, it's through a friend basically kind of pointed me in their direction. They're like, hey, they need someone to talk about transit. You talk about transit. Do you want to do this? So yeah, it should be interesting. It's, if nothing else, it'll be a chance to kind of talk to kids about transit in their area. Like I said, the majority of the discussion will be like, well, it's using a teleporter is cheap writing, but this is how transit is actually done in the real world and how you can translate that. And then again, at the end, I will turn that around and say, now go off into your communities. If you want to get more involved, here's how you do it, right? So that's kind of the pitch. They're going to give me a stipend. It's like $100, but still.
Curtis, how close to the Ogden station is that meeting going to be?
That's a good question. I looked it up not too long ago, and it's like a quarter of a mile. It's not terribly far. So I was planning on taking the train up actually that day. Yeah, what was it called? It was like it was something center.
Who was
yeah.
the guy that came to that Rose Park meeting with me at the library? He was a rep from UTA, and he brought a bunch of ride passes and he handed them out.
Oh,
That'd be a interesting thing if you want to invite someone from UTA to join you for that conversation and just hand out some passes.
and add some passes. Yeah, I'll have to dig through the emails. I don't know who came with you, but I'm sure I could figure that out.
I can find that guy too.
Yeah, that'd be great. And hey, if we can go for it, then just let's pass out passes. I'm all for that. Because yeah, it's where is it? It's not terribly far. The Weber Innovation Center is where it is. And yeah, it's like a quarter of a mile from the train stop, as I recall. So yeah, not terribly far.
Yeah,
Oh, maybe it's a little bit of a ways.
The other conference draws about 1,000 people. So maybe
Yeah.
worth it, you know.
Yeah. So anyway, those are my updates. Any other questions? Cool. All right. Well, I've now since clicked past where I needed to be. So I believe, yes, so the next item, we do have our quarterly meeting coming up in September as well. So I just kind of wanted to start spitballing ideas for potential topics, guests, what's going on. The most obvious one that's coming to me is UTA just released their long-term plan. So I know we always go to the well and try to get someone from UTA to come on by, but it's relevant. It's it's related to what we're talking about. I'm sure we can get Megan over at UTA to hop on or someone else to do that. So that's kind of my first idea as far as guests and topics. But I wanted to open it up to everybody as well, see if they had any ideas or anything they want me to at least start chasing.
So that's probably a good idea to have them come out and talk about that 2050 plan. I
Yep.
mean, and I think you can throw a hook out and they'll be more than happy to come out. But in conjunction with that, I mean, I've talked about this. I was hoping to have a map ready to go by this meeting. I probably won't. Well, I know I won't. I don't. For a couple of reasons, but I do want to take some time to have a map. I'll have a map ready for the meeting and to talk about the transit imagined process. And
Okay,
I think this will probably be a good transition to say, this is what we envision. Oh, and this is what UTA is planning and what they're talking about.
sure.
And it should be a pretty good, like, okay, this is what we're talking about, but then this is really what they're saying we're actually going to do. And we need to have that discussion as to why we talk about these great big plans and why this is what they're really saying that we can do. Or
Sure.
I don't know that that's the accurate representation of it, but
Sure.
but more than likely that's Mike's been around the block enough to know that UTA makes a lot of they talk about a lot of things, but what actually gets implemented is not really what we need. So
Right. No, I think that's great. Yeah, and they are related ideas, right? So that's a good one. Any other ideas, thoughts, suggestions, things to discuss?
Two thoughts.
Yeah.
One, can we get somebody there from UDOT to either speak
There you go.
about I-15 or speak
UDOT.
about the gondola? I think that if we push it out to social media, will draw some interest.
That'll draw people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just
Um,
put in
yeah.
a chat.
Yeah, I saw
I
that.
just put in a chat. The Brown Berets, UDOT, and UTA to talk about, or anyone individually to talk about that UDOT, the I-15 expansion. So
Okay.
that's a hot topic right now.
It is.
and
Okay.
there's an I-15 coalition
Yeah.
that's an anti-I-15 coalition building on the west side in the neighborhoods that are most impacted. So it might be good to get somebody from that group as
Okay.
well.
Yeah, it's the Rose Park Brown Berets that held that get
yeah.
together last week.
Okay. Cool. Any other ideas, thoughts, suggestions, people we should reach out to? Any backup thoughts? If not, I mean, obviously we can still have emails, but I think this will be a good place to start. As far as a date is concerned, I know we have Memorial Day on the 4th, so we probably don't want to do it on the 2nd.
should be the third Saturday of the
Is it
month.
the 3rd Saturday? Okay, so that would be the 16th.
Yep, always third Saturday.
Okay.
Same thing
So
with the October meeting.
that was my next one. So I just want to get this down. 9/16 for that. Do we want to play with in person or do we still want to just do it virtual? I think virtual is easier for everybody at this point. We're all used to it, but if we want to get a venue, I can do that as well.
I think maybe next quarter we could try for a
Okay.
venue. Yeah, I think we should push for an in-person, but let's get a little bit more momentum.
I think virtual
and
is
a little
good.
bit and a little bit more time for the in-person planning.
Okay. Randy, you were going to say something?
Just saying, I think virtual is good. We should
Okay.
have virtual.
Okay, cool. Well, I will start working those angles and I'm sure we can get certainly people for UTA to talk about the 2050 plan. We'll see what we can do on UDOT, and then if they're not willing to talk, then we can, not that I won't reach out to the Brown Berets as well, but we can be like, hey, these guys are coming. Do you want to have a say? So I'll play that angle as well.
Let's not tell them they're coming. Let's have a rumble.
Let's just have them fight virtually online, get all the YouTube views.
We're gonna make it a debate format.
Oh, that might actually be fun. We just won't tell them.
We're not
Yeah,
gonna
we'll
tell
just
them.
ambush them.
Yeah.
that'll go over well the next time we ask him for something. Okay.
Oh,
And then
we only need them once, Curtis. We only
that's
need 'em
true.
once.
That's true. Okay. So our October meeting, our annual convention, if it's the third Saturday, that is the 21st of October. We split it up last year, as you may recall. I'll need to find out who is technically up for re-election this go around, but need to start the process of asking for people to, and I'll start that pretty much this coming week. Start asking for names, who wants to be part of our board. And then I've already started pushing it with our monthly update, but you do have to be a dues paying member, make sure your dues are paid, all of that good stuff. Now we have stickers and things like that just to kind of entice you a little bit more. But anything else in particular that we want to discuss aside from that you can kind of think of off the top of your head? I know that takes up the majority of the time.
Yeah, the basic thing, if we do anything, it's just got to be really, really short and sweet.
I was picturing kind of just here's some of the stuff that we've been working on, right? So like the Transit Imagine, just brief overviews, Transit Imagine, CAT, the transit map to help you get more involved, some of the things that our chapters are doing, how to start a chapter, all of that good stuff. That's basically what I was picturing.
Yeah,
I just wanted to see.
I think that's probably a good idea.
Okay. Well, then we will do, I will start that, putting out a call for people to actually sign up. We will have the September and October newsletters to also push on that. So I will do that as well. So cool. I just want to make sure we were on the same page on those two items. So last thing, unless there's anything else, is just the open forum. Is there anything anybody wants to discuss in particular?
Curtis, when are you gonna invoice the U to get some money?
I was actually planning on doing that this month, just to have 3 months under our belt. I figured that was a decent chunk of time. So I was planning on doing that probably close to the end of this month when I send that off.
We're in IRB revision stage. There may be some requests for material from the IRB.
Okay.
I might be able to tell them, here's a placeholder, and then file an amendment later with actual material if they ask for it. So,
sure.
Well,
I have material. I can produce material, so I'm not too worried about it. But if they ask for that, just let me. Yeah, if they ask for it, just let me know. I'll give you the PowerPoint that I've been working on in my notes and all of that sort of stuff. That's not a problem.
Cool.
If anything, it's too much and I need to pare it down a bit. So that's where I'm at.
Awesome.
Anything else anybody wants to discuss?
Yeah, I want to discuss something.
All right, let's discuss.
So last month, it's been really bad. I was in a terrible laundry accident. I was getting laundry out of my dryer, and my back just totally seized up, and I had like this huge knot, and just totally my whole spine out of kilter. I can't turn my neck. It's just terrible. Old age, whatever. But so I've been working with my doctor trying to get stuff on. Well, so last Saturday morning, I went to Walgreens up to get some Tylenol, and I walked in. I walk, right? No car. I walked in. I got the Tylenol. I came out. I'm walking down the path from Walgreens there on 45th and 9th East, and just as I'm probably like 2 or 3 steps away from the crosswalk, and the light turned green. The crosswalk turned green, and car had been stopped there, and I looked at her and she looked at me, and I started walking across the walkway, and she ran into me. She ran me over, literally picked me up off the ground and literally started driving with me on her hood.
Jesus. Well, it sounds like you got a lawsuit.
Well, if I could have got her license plate, basically I had to slam my arm down on the hood for her to stop, and I got off, and then what I'm hoping is that she's still hiding in her house, wondering if the police are ever going to show up. I couldn't get her license plate.
All the
So
more reason we need more buses. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. That
more
sucks. That
buses
sucks.
and more. I mean, but the thing is it's like I had eye contact with her. I mean, and Mike knows
Right.
this because he walks, all the time. And if you get eye contact with the driver, you normally are pretty good, right? It's the people that are not looking. Well, she looked
Yeah.
Yeah.
right at me and then just drove over me. And
Well, so
there was
oh,
a
go ahead.
lady behind me that was, she couldn't believe it. She was like, that lady ran over you. And I'm like, yeah, I know, I was there. But
Well,
But-
I'm
yeah,
that
and then
sucks.
the
I'm
worst
sorry.
part of it is it tweaked my neck and my back up again. So
So
yeah.
did the Tylenol work, or did you turn around and go get more strong stuff?
Well, that's this Randy is the problem is the Tylenol has not been working since then. So
I mean, we do have a doctor on the line. Do you have a prescription pad, John? Can you help him out?
I can definitely get
Can
you
you
in
help
at the
a brother
the
out?
used cane clinic. Yeah, I can talk to some people at the University Pain Clinic if you want to go that route.
Yeah,
Oh.
They have all sorts of
I'm
good
gonna go
stuff
see
there.
I'm gonna go see my doctor on Thursday, and I mean I've been kind of hesitant to get on pain pills because you know how that works,
Yeah.
right? You start popping the pain pills, and the next thing you know, you're um, doing a lap dance for drugs or whatever. I don't know. I just
You might have to get on the fun bus.
You're Jesse.
You might have to get on the fun bus to Wendover and
Chris,
do a
don't
CBD
encourage
trip.
him. Don't encourage him.
oh,
Actually, that brings up something interesting. Not that it was interesting that happened. You know what I mean. So obviously, I've moved to South Jordan from Bountiful, right? And I've noticed, first of all, just the difference in infrastructure around here as far as like bike lanes and that sort of stuff. And we have the VIA out here, which sucks. But like South Jordan has clearly made some investments as far as non-automobile related transit and moving around the city, even for a sprawling suburb like this place. And I've also, because of that, like I've actually bought a scooter and I'm driving my scooter to work because it's, 2 miles or so. But I've noticed as part of that, just how much safer I kind of feel because of just having even just, and paint isn't infrastructure. I'm not saying that it is, but just the fact that the city has invested something compared to Bountiful, where I always felt like it was a crapshoot. And even in and amongst the drivers, I didn't feel safe and it wasn't fun. And so I'm wondering if we, not to take advantage of your injury, that's not what I'm trying to say, but like we've been quiet on the blog is what I'm trying to say, and getting content out there. And if we do, I'm kind of thinking maybe we can do a quick kind of compare and contrast of what it feels like to have to navigate in a car center community without a car that doesn't really invest in anything even remotely close, even compared to South Jordan, where at the very least I have a bike lane and there's a pretty decent bike lane network here. Um, I'm trying to generate content, right? And not to take advantage of your injury, but it is something worth talking about, right? This is the whole idea of a transit community, a positive transit oriented lifestyle that we want to promote. And so taking these real life stories and at least doing something with that, I think that's important.
yeah, but the thing it goes a little deeper though, because supposedly in here on 9th East, 45th South, the sidewalks are well maintained. They're pretty wide. There is a bike lane, even though it's smaller. It's there is a bike lane, but it's the people. It's the people,
Yeah.
and because this lady just obviously had no awareness. Even though she looked right at me, even though she saw me,
Right.
she really did not see me. And so it's it's the infrastructure is not really what it is nowhere really where it needs to be. Even in South
Sure.
Jordan, I mean, you know, you look at, Amsterdam is always a good place to go because there are bike lanes or bike roads. You know, the idea behind there's pedestrian roads, there's bike
Mhm.
roads, and then there's regular roads. We are nowhere near having any of that because
Right.
we're just so car centric. And and Mike's been doing it a lot longer without a car than I have, but he also lives in an area that's more friendly to bicycles and pedestrians and cars to that matter. And I went out on Sunday a couple Sundays ago to a tavern, a bar on Third West, near Third West, 13th South, and coming back, I couldn't remember a time when I had seen so many bicycles on
Mhm.
riding up and down on 8th South, right? Because there's bike lanes there now, and 20 years ago that just didn't exist. And people were
Yeah.
using them. People were actually on the bikes using them.
Yeah,
If I got on a
going by
bike
as well.
on 9th East here, I'd be sauce. Because
Yeah.
that lady'd
So,
come back and
one-
she'd see me and hit me.
One thing I'm thinking
He's
though is
finished
we
it.
don't really,
End the bloodline. End the bloodline.
want to exacerbate the dangerousness of walking and taking transit, So, I mean, yeah, that's a concern, but we want to promote people taking transit and getting out there and not being in cars. So I
Sure.
don't know if we want to really highlight that.
Well, what do we have for next newsletter content?
That's the question. I don't really have much. I mean, the next newsletter will be, hey, sign up to become a board member, reminder about dues, but um, some additional content would be nice.
So there's two big hot buttons right now as far as transit goes, and that's the I-15 and the gondola, right?
Right.
So whatever we can do to address those things. I mean, because UTA is getting a bunch of money to increase the ski buses in the first phase of the gondola thing.
Right.
So that would be interesting to let people know what they're thinking, but they're still not saying that it's going to be back to what it was or it's going to be good. They're
Well,
just saying it's going to be better.
that's the interesting part, Randy, is I don't think that the bus operator has actually been chosen yet, which is interesting. I know the funding is there, but the presumption has been that UTA would be able to do it. But as far as I've seen, there hasn't been actual there hasn't been an operator that's been decided yet. It's possible that there could be a surprise operator that shows up that's actually going to bus the people from the bottom of the canyon up to the top. It's still possible.
So that would be paid for by us as taxpayers, by UDOT?
Yeah, well,
Presumably, yeah.
yeah. So the funding that occurred through the appropriations bill this year basically said that it would provide for the a bus transfer system, and then apply for a bus operator, and then some other pre-gondola planning things. But basically, it was very vague and very open as to who would be actually providing that transit service. And
Well,
so,
that's very interesting.
yeah,
Very interesting.
yep. And the thing is that because UTA doesn't have enough operators, it's potential that it could go to somebody else, and it could go to somebody less, or to operators that would actually make less than what UTA operators are making. So I would not be surprised if it goes to some other operator like SLC Express or something like that. Would not be surprised.
Be interesting.
So that brings up another thing. Did you see the City Weekly article about OCX or OCG or whatever it is, the Ogden?
The Ogden. I did not.
Yeah.
I missed that one. What was going on with that one?
I saw some. Yeah, I saw it was on the cover.
It's in
Can't see
City
it.
Weekly, and it's basically a fluff piece, really, but it's talking about where you can go and what you can do on the Ogden Express, which it's a UTA thing, but you know, they're free, they're everywhere. Just go pick one up. So it's kind of cool.
Okay.
We
I'll take
could,
a look at that.
that would be a nice newsletter piece.
How to ride
If anybody goes up to Ogden.
OGX.
Yeah, OGX ride.
Yeah.
So like, if anybody wants to get up there and take it around, try it out.
Yeah, maybe I
Is it connect to the
will.
front runner? It's
So
connected
you-
to the front runner,
You
right?
should
Yeah, it's right
should
up to
bring-
front runner.
Yep.
you should bring that up in your meeting up there and with the kids in Ogden.
Yeah, I should. I know it goes the opposite direction of where we're going, where the thing is, but I will bring it up. Yeah, maybe I'll take a week, or I've got nothing to do this Friday. Maybe I'll find my way up there and take the OGX and get some content out of that as well. I'm sure I could come up with something.
Is
Just
that,
to-
is it operating now? I didn't
Yep.
think it was.
Well, I think it's the 20th, isn't it, when it goes live?
That's what I
So maybe
thought.
not this weekend, but next.
$100
Yeah,
million.
maybe not this weekend, but next weekend. Just find my way up there. Take a day, half a day. I'll bring my laptop to keep working on grant stuff, and yeah, maybe I'll do that.
I can't. It's 5.3 mile BRT. I think the total cost was 100 million, 110.
Yeah, something like that. That sounds right. So
Like,
Yeah, I mean, I
how
have
many
some-
years in the making? How many years in the making?
I think 5 or 6 at this point.
I have some,
As far
I have
as-
some, I have some questions about that too. Some of the way they widened the road. And again, I mean, part of good transit means that you're not as a pedestrian, because in order to use transit, you have to be a pedestrian, right? You can't be a good transit user if you are still using a car. I mean, let's just face it, the idea of using a car and being a transit user, just they're somewhat incompatible. But if you have to walk across 8 to 12 lanes to get to where you need to be with your bus, then there's just something not right. And that's a lot of what they did with the Washington, or the I think it runs on
Washington
Harrison.
Boulevard.
Is it Washington
And
or
Harrison.
no? Yeah, it's
actually
Harrison.
both. Yeah.
Up
Harrison's
on
the main
Harrison.
drag.
Yeah, but Harrison was smaller than Washington Boulevard, but now they've widened it. They've added the median, they've added the bus lanes, and so it's wider at the intersections. And again, and then the amount of money that they've spent for it. I mean, yeah, go up, take a ride on it, and see whether it actually is a good investment. I mean, I always think that a good bus investment is if it is quick and serves a good number of people. And I'm just not always convinced that. I mean, look at the MAX, look at the 35th South BRT that they put in. Right? What happened there?
They
What
did,
happened?
honestly,
It doesn't
what happened
exist
was
anymore.
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah.
exist.
But what happened?
It was that it wasn't any more convenient than taking a car. Like, it was, despite it having those dedicated lanes, they never really committed to it. And people didn't like, kind of like what you were saying, people didn't like crossing 4, 5, 6 lanes just to catch a bus to go to the center of the road.
Yep. And because the stops were few and far between,
People
Mhm.
people didn't want to get on a stop or get off on a stop and then have to walk an extra, half a
However
mile.
far, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no,
So
it did a very bad job of the first mile, last mile, which is it was designed to go to a park and ride out in Magna, and it was designed to go to 35th South at Tracks, and that was about it. And unless you were one of those two spots, it really didn't do much for you.
yeah. So
So that's why it
now,
failed.
so now what they're doing, which is interesting, is now all the BRTs go through a college.
Hmm.
The
Which, I mean,
yeah,
it
it makes
that's
sense.
great.
It makes sense. So the Mid Valley BRT will be going through Solid Community. The Ogden goes through Weber State, and
Yep.
the
And then
Provo
down in
one goes to
Provo,
Detroit.
yeah, that gets two actually. That one's a twofer because it also gets Utah State, or not Utah State, UVU.
EVU.
Utah
Yeah.
Valley.
So yeah, and obviously the University of Utah has Tracks, which is the better one. So um, I digress. Now I'm thinking like, well, maybe they should send the S line up to Westminster. But anyway, yeah, I mean
That's been the
that is
argument.
why. That's been the argument for sure. But yeah, so maybe I'll find a way to get up there and just take a ride, kind of gather some content as well,
So
and do it that way.
Yeah.
I think you should reach out to this the author of the City Weekly guide, because he might be able to give you some insight or something. It's
Mhm. Oh, it's
Ben
Ben. I know Ben. Yeah,
Ben
Ben is very transit friendly, and he's an
Ben
acquaintance.
Inman.
So
Yeah, check in with him.
yeah, I'll touch base with him.
Make him go with you.
And we'll just do a follow-up piece.
There's
Who
also
is it? Who wrote it?
Ben
There's some-
Ben
That's a
Wood.
good idea, though. Actually, Kurt, that's a good idea because actual writer's perspective of the thing
Right.
instead of just a fluff piece of here's what cool things you could do.
Right.
A follow up would be pretty interesting.
Might be in it. Yeah, I'll see what he has to say about that. Oh yeah, this artwork project. That's an interesting
But
one
you
too.
know, it could also be, and I haven't read the piece in City Weekly yet, but it could also potentially make for a good follow-up piece to say, hey, you know, we're all for rapid
Right.
transit, we're all for BRTs, we're for rapid transit, you know, we like to see investments made in transportation, in public transit, but we need to make sure this is successful.
Right.
And that the city in Ogden is, the region up there, does what it takes to make it a truly, a an anchor for further transit, for transit oriented development, those types of things.
Mhm.
And so is that really going to happen, or is it going to end up like another
Right.
35th South, right?
Right.
And there's also the disappointments I heard from people at an event around like Zion's Bank and some others around the the comparison with the Provo line, and there was some disappointment around some of the reliability there. And so I don't know, I haven't dealt with that line on a day-to-day basis at all.
Sure.
But there could be some interesting kind of a historical context there that we could
Yeah.
interject. And like things like comparing with something like what is it? I want to say it's Medellin, or either Medellin or Cartagena. I think Medellin, Cartagena in Colombia, where BRTs in Latin America have been transformative down there.
Sure.
I mean, those are some of the most ridden lines in the Americas are in Colombia, on their BRT lines, and I think there's a Brazilian city as well. And so, injecting some flavor and content around those types of things, where this could go, what it takes to make it be like that, rather than an add-on that that hobbles along and grows by 2% per
Yeah.
year, which is
Right.
UTA's
I mean-
ridership projections, right?
So maybe there's some really easy fixes like what you were saying on the 3500 South one is, why not just make more stops? I mean, that doesn't cost
Right.
much. They already got it going. If that's the big thing, then let's fix it, you know?
Yeah, and I mean that's a discussion. I mean, and that's the thing is we can. I like that idea. We could probably generate some content on that too. Of you know, because it's my understanding, as I recall, seeing the Ogden BRT, and I know that the Utah Valley BRT is successful, as far as that's concerned, and I think that they learned a lot of lessons from the. It was Max, is what they called it. I think that UTA learned some lessons about density and those sorts of things, and so maybe we can restart a discussion about if OGX is doing this and Utah Valley is doing this. I mean, Trax is every other block in downtown, right? And so, can we fix Max? That could be a content that could be something worth discussing and getting out there. Is can we fix Max?
Well, yeah, and I think it could be fixed, but here's the problem. The problem is it only goes one way. It only goes out to
Right.
Magna, and there's no connections. And so one of the problems, or one of the things that I said was a problem, is it doesn't go anywhere. There's no connections once you get there, right? So even the even the Weber one and the BYU one, it goes someplace. It goes, the BYU one goes both to Provo Station and to Orem Station. The Ogden one goes from the Ogden Station to Weber University, right? So there's two destinations there. Well, the problem with the Max, the 35th South, is it only goes to Magna.
Right.
Right.
And it goes and it comes from a track stop, not even a
and it
train.
comes from a track stop, and connects with West Valley, but it only goes to Magna and nothing else goes to Magna. It's the only thing that goes to Magna. And so
Yeah.
there's no connections to make the Max work. There would have to be a 56 West connection. There would
Yeah.
have to be a 56 West
I think-
connection that goes to the airport and up to downtown, and 56 South all the way out to Daybreak.
Yeah.
And
So
then,
I think
and
the
then
idea
potentially
was,
a couple other.
The idea was that could connect to Tooele County.
Yeah,
there.
there was discussion
So
about that.
if they made a stop there, then that would make sense, right? Because
Right.
be faster than like a regular bus.
Yeah.
But
So that might be
it's out
that
of the
might be an
way for
interesting
the
item.
Tooele guys, so they don't want to do it either.
Yeah. That might be a fun thing to kind of explore, because when I was doing my little fun map stuff with Transit Imagine, just kind of putting some stuff down on paper and then combining that with actual ideas, actual plans that have been discussed. Like there has been talk about rapid transit out to Willa. And yeah, maybe I'll throw something together on that front and start generating it that way. And then again, yeah, I'll make the trip up to Ogden, maybe next weekend once it's up and going, and just kind of get my thoughts and feelings on it and put something together there as well. So yeah,
Oh,
cool.
by the way, transit is free this Thursday and Friday.
Oh yeah, that's right, because the air is terrible.
Ozone, little ozone.
Right?
The ozone's bad
Right?
all summer, by the way.
Yeah,
It's pretty
it's
bad
true.
all summer.
Yeah, but now it's going to be super bad. So
Yeah, so
there you go.
if you have bad lungs like I do, you can get outside and use the transit.
Exactly. And instead of having a long-term solution, they'll try to slap a band-aid and then they'll go, why don't people take the train more? Not to start the free fare discussion, just the discussion of maybe we should advocate for transit more. Cool. Anything else in the last 15 minutes or so?
Good.
Good.
Okay,
Good.
I think we're good. So, got some ideas as far as who to reach out to for September and October. Well, not October, but September. Got some good content ideas as well. And again, and I'll put this out there too. Like, always feel free if you guys have stuff that you want to put out there. If you want to write something up, John, I'm reminded of your India stuff. I need to get that up. I've been sitting on that for a while, and I just kind of got to the bottom of my inbox. So I'll give that up as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's evergreen. So yeah, if anybody has anything that's kind of, chewing their side, let's get some more content going. People love it when we actually start to complain. Chris, this is your chance to virtually flip over a bus.
I'm afraid it
yeah.
might run me over though.
Yeah, seriously. Well, if it runs you over, at least the bus has cameras and you can sue UTA. So.
Yes, then I
I
can.
might
Yes.
put something short together, Curtis, on the there's a big parking controversy going on at the U.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Raising some rates, and it's one of these things that carrot stick to get people on transit. The people who end up taking it the worst are the lower paid people at the university, the techs and the MAs and stuff. They have to live far away to afford to live. And then you're telling them that they have to pay 18% more every year for parking when they have to pay already. And then, it's basically a pay cut for the lower end workers. But at the same time, I'm like, well, we need to incentivize people to use transit, but is it fair to push it on people who have a 2.5 hour commute? Versus like a 30-minute drive. So there's some interesting like equity and air quality as well as transportation, all sorts of really weird kind of knotted up issues with that. Hopefully the van pool, maybe a place to plug the van pool stuff, because good news is, so transportation here at the U, focus on a good thing at the end here, was trying to put together this like $1 million proposal for some private vendor to come and do a carpool system that would maybe or maybe not work. And the U said, no, we need more parking. We're going to build a parking lot. It's $3 million. So they built more parking. Frustrating. And then, but from us pushing with the van pool stuff and getting that grant and pushing that along with commuter services and building that relationship, they actually are engaged now with the UTA service for van pool and carpooling. And there's a UTA whole software service for that. And so, kind of a positive outcome in regard to commuter services now looking to offset some of the parking demand through a program that's with the UTA, and that strengthens the UTA and it helps out the U. And so it's a nice kind of twist there, but they still have this parking crunch ongoing. So there could be some kind of like 250 to 500 word kind of thing there.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, they had a parking crunch when I was there 15 years ago, and they've always had a parking crunch. They ripped up my golf course to put in parking, and that made me sad. Anyway,
I think now they're raising the rates, so that's what's got everybody up in arms. And there's some like 3-year plan to raise them up, but it's this knot of strange incentives and equity issues, and how do we feel about that as transit advocates, and that you need to have the carrot with the stick. You definitely need a stick to get people out of their cars. Like it's you can't get them out of there with just carrots. And that's the unfortunate truth, but who pays at the end of the day?
I never paid for anything at parking at the U.
Well, you were lucky.
my brother worked in Merrill Engineering at night, and he didn't need his A sticker, so I used it.
So you stole it. Oh, okay. So someone did pay.
It's like a Netflix password.
I didn't say someone. I said I didn't pay for it.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But I was
paid for.
But I was always on the front row at parked right there at the business, the School of Business in the A parking.
Okay, we're gonna have to stop talking because I might push you in front of a car now at this point.
All right, guys.
Anyway,
I make a move to adjourn.
Well, yeah, unfortunately it's not debatable. So all right, and it's already on the agenda. So we'll go ahead and call it. Please do give content, and I'll start working on all that stuff.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys.
Yep. Thanks, guys. We'll see you.
Thanks.